The following is a Roll Poll production. All right, another episode of the Metrics podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I'm Rogelio Castillo. Alongside me is Mike, Uber, and Chris. Ashley should maybe be along this evening. She is out in Arizona right now doing the spring training, kind of like taking a tour. She's going to be there for the Sierra Conference, which is in 2 weeks. I believe it starts on the 8th or 9th, but she's out there right now. And so she said she might join us after dinner. So it's approximately 6:09 p.m. out that way. So for those who are interested, hopefully she'll show up. If not, she'll be here on a regular basis, probably starting in a few weeks when the season starts. But how's everybody doing this evening?
You talking to me or to the audience?
Everybody.
All of us. Yeah, not bad. I don't know. Now that I'm working again, I'm like, hey, tomorrow's Friday. Outstanding. Whereas every day was Friday before. But yeah, it's all good. 2 baseball games today for the price of 1, although we didn't get to see either of them. But I don't know. It's already getting like spring training. Like yesterday, it's finally televised everything and they don't score a run. And then today they're down 6-1 and then they blow a lead in the other game. But I don't know. It's fun just to see these kids get out there and hear about what they're doing.
Yeah. And a lot of, like you said yesterday, Chris, on the minor league podcast side of things, that a lot of these kids seem like they're going to be going to AA or AAA, but we're seeing a lot of them. And because possibly of you have the issues with Parker Meadows right now, the arm injury. Now Matt Verling also with an arm injury, a right shoulder to be specific. And so uncertainty with that right now, but it works out well because, I mean, in the split today, the Tigers took on Tampa and there was torque bomb. That happened. And then the bullpen kind of allowed that to happen. It was a 7-7 tie. And then the Tigers were within a run in Lakeland against Boston. And unfortunately couldn't win. They couldn't pull it off and lost 6-5, but Marcelo Meyer definitely had a game. He had a game.
Yeah, you wonder if this is the beginning of the Marcelo Meyer is angry at the Tigers for not taking him. Although, didn't we hear back in the day that he didn't want to sign with the Tigers anyway? Wasn't that a talking point at the time? I don't know if that was true or not. I think the Tigers just really like Jackson Jobe. But, yeah, I mean, he had a heck of a game. Flaherty had a solid start. I think it sounded like the first run he gave up was partially wind-aided. You got Ben Malgeri was playing center field, partially because, like as you said, not only are Vierling and Meadows, on the men, Akil Baddoo's hurt. So they're down 3 outfielders right now and kind of 3 of their, 5, 6 viable center fielders. So, but yeah, and then Maeda, I don't know, Maeda was interesting again. I think he got 3 innings, right?
Yeah, he got 3.
He didn't really get shot. Like he was fine in the first inning. He got himself into trouble and got out of it in the second inning, and then he got hit. He gave up a 2-run homer to Meyer, I think, in the 3rd inning of work. I don't know. He's still getting swings and misses and strikeouts, and I think that's a good sign. But who knows? It's spring. I'm seeing some positive signs there, whereas I thought he was kind of a lost cause last year.
Well, and the thing is, with coming off where he was last year, every time he has anything negative, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things swirling around him online. And that's fine. But I think, the totality of every outing, as he builds up the innings, we'll see what he's got. As we get closer, he'll be seeing, more and more big leaguers versus minor leaguers mixed in there. So I think it's a decent start. He wasn't going to give up no runs in spring training, so he got to give up a dinger today. Big deal.
Yeah, and then Dan pointed out Will Vest gave up 2 homers. He was just throwing the ball right down the middle. And Dickerson said he gave up 3 home runs all of last year, and then two today. He just didn't care. He was out there throwing, just trying stuff.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just like essentially, as Scott Harris said the other day, you don't take the top ERAs on your Excel sheet and call it a day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody, right? Like somebody like Vest, who we were 99% sure he's going to be in the bullpen on opening day, right? Like he's not terribly worried about losing a job. Whereas someone like Lyle Lockhart, who went out there and pitched the final 2 innings, has a chance to make an impression, and he did. I think we were talking, you're facing the end of the bench whatever, but it's still better to go out there and pitch very well. And he did. I think it was 6 up, 6 down with 3 strikeouts. Can't do a whole lot better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And, depending how the year goes, he's right in position to be there. I mean, he could be this year's Brant Herter without any question, especially if at some point they feel they need to go back to pitching chaos and, win games that way for a stretch.
Yeah, and we got another, just another sharp Riley Green double today. He seems to be in midseason form, which is always nice to see. Just stay healthy. And then, then there wasn't a whole lot of offense other than that until later. Jake Rogers hit an opposite field home run, I think, or to right center, maybe left center. And then it was just kind of some of the younger guys later, kind of in quotes. It was Justice Bigby got a hit and Dingler got a hit, and so they clawed back a little bit, but I don't know if it means much of anything.
Yeah, there's no moral victories there with that. And I think the biggest thing about today was good to see Michael Fulmer back in action for Boston, pitching a pair of scoreless innings and a couple strikeouts, had unleashed a pretty nasty curve there. And so it was good to see. I mean, regardless of Boston is going to have a 3-headed monster. I thought hearing what they were talking about Kristen Campbell, although he struck out twice, I feel like that guy's going to be a beast. Watching him play last year in the minors, this guy is going to be good. And him and Roman Anthony as well. It's Boston. It's really weird to see them bring like the 3-headed monster today. They did. It was if you look at the lineup up and down, it was very kind of prospect studded, if you will. And then of course the return of Trace Thompson, who's still floating around, but revenge tour, whatever you want to joke around about. But
yeah, it's just a spring training game. Yeah, I was paying attention to that one most because it was Dickerson and Benetti on the broadcast, and that was very fun to hear those two go back and forth. They had a discussion that we've had before, where they were, they're just BSing during the broadcast because it's spring training, and they were talking about Campbell, the pitcher for Boston, was just the second player ever who was born in Portugal to pitch.
Oh yeah,
and then they talked about that, and then they talked about the other guy who started in Portugal, and then they started talking about pitchers that I think Benetti said, I remember Mark Portugal, and then they started talking about pitchers whose last names are countries, which I swear we had that exact same conversation.
Yes, we did.
But they were mentioning a guy that I didn't, these are baseball guys. They were talking about somebody Germany who played for the Tigers 100
early
years ago.
1900s. Yeah.
Germany Schaefer?
Yeah, Germany Schaefer. That's right.
Yeah.
Who infamously, did some silly base running things that resulted in them having to make a rule that you can't run the opposite way or something like that.
It was running backwards.
You can't steal first from second.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was fun hearing them just goof around. It's very interesting because Dickerson very much does not like the ABS system, the challenge system. He doesn't. He's not a fan. Whereas Benetti, I think, is.
Yeah, ran it backwards. Okay. Yeah, there was. I definitely think that one of the things about that, they definitely play off each other, especially when Dickerson was talking about the old AP machine, like taking how loud it was in the closet, and it was just hearing some of the radio stories because we forget that Dickerson. I mean, the amount of he used to be. I think he did weather too. I think he was a weather guy too. He was like an all around news guy before he got into doing broadcasting. So. But yeah, they're definitely. It's just even they were plugging their podcast too, and the Have a Seat podcast, and so it's they were already in rare form already, and so that was gonna and then the fighting Greg Gagne's that was a pretty funny reference too. So
yeah, it was a fun broadcast. There wasn't a whole lot, honestly. Like we said, there wasn't a whole lot. Like Hao Yu Lee, he's kind of been a fun story in spring, and it sounded like he made a couple nice defensive plays, threw a runner out at home. Made a couple other solid plays. They walked in a bat, but there just wasn't a ton to write home. I guess one of the bigger things was that Lorenzo actually caught for a few innings in this game. It sounded like he was doing okay. They were mentioning that he's got a new receiving style, whatever that is that he's been working on the same sort of way that Jake Rogers does. I don't know if it's a hinge or something like that. I don't know, whatever. I'm not a catching guy, but they're teaching him some catching stuff, and if that sticks, that'll be pretty sweet.
Yeah, especially because I know he's been working with Pena quite a bit there, and the arm. Look, there's no problem with his arm whatsoever. We talked about it before. His arm is fine. There's already kind of the Victor Martinez reference comp, if you will. He's got an extremely good eye at the plate already, and again, it's really early to kind of. I know, like I was talking to Mark Mark from the Days of War podcast, and of course, his bat looks a little slow already, and I'm just, it's early, guys. It's a lot of this is really early, so it's just not really a thing where I'm not gonna wait a few weeks until we see them against actual major league pitching towards the end of camp.
Yeah,
and then you kind of go from there. A couple of things that were encouraging on the other side of things is in Tampa. So the Tigers were on a they played the Rays in a split squad. That game was, so Spencer Turkleton hit a home run, and that was like I mentioned earlier, torque bomb, if you will. And that was, again, you can easily dispute that as well. It's early in spring training. You can't have both. Oh, there's news, by the way, that Javi Baez will be DHing tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So. I think Torkelson hit home run off of Lance Workman, right? Minor leaguer. So, I mean, so I'm sure some people would rather see him hit it off a major leaguer, but whatever, who cares? I mean, what I think, it could be those blue spring training jerseys that I think look good. But Torkelson looked a little bigger in the shoulders to me. I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard any reports of any workout regimen he's been on or anything, but he looked a little bigger. And that doesn't mean you're going to make more contact. So, I guess it really doesn't. I don't know what that matters. And again, it might just be how he looked at it, one camera angle.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know if I've seen him. He must have played one game that was on TV or a broadcast, maybe the Yankees. I don't remember, but I don't know. Maybe he looks about the same to me. Who knows? But I think all people always look the same. So yeah, I mean, and that game wasn't necessarily, other than the Torkelson home run, and they got out to the lead. But again, there wasn't, there weren't huge names there. I should say, it was like Malloy was there, but it was, other than that, I guess Eddie's Leonard, Tomas Nido had a nice game.
Yeah, he did, making
a bid. And I guess Manning, I'm looking 2 2/3, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Those walks, remember last year it was the home runs that were his downfall, and this year so far was that like 7 walks, 6 walks at least.
Yeah,
that's probably not ideal. Now, who knows? He may be working on something, but I don't know. It's tough if you're trying to win a spot in a very crowded room. You probably don't have any room for error, and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really, as far as that game goes, you're right, Chris. I mean, there was in terms of prospect wise too, it was a lot of guys that are, I don't want to say it wasn't really prospect heavy outside of Alfonso. I don't know. Peyton Graham made an appearance, so that was interesting to see because that means he's healthy. So
yeah, and played shortstop. So
yeah.
So there you go. He was in the outfield last year.
Pacheco got in one of those games too. I saw.
Yeah, he got a single. He had a single.
Yeah, that was the Boston game. Yeah, he came in for Young.
And that was good to see him get some reps in there as well. And Pacheco needs to get off to a good start. I think it's just in between the ears with him. I think physically he's got the abilities to just getting down pat with hitting a little bit. But no, Corey's right. The Pistons are up. The Red Wings are making progress. The Red Wings are they're losing right now 4-2 to Columbus, and have a big game this weekend. Is it this weekend, the outdoor game this weekend? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't
sent down the
shoot. It's a back-to-back with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
So they're playing tonight.
Yeah. So, but other than that, the only takeaway was Jack Flaherty making the start today. Solid, doing what he had to do, pitched his 2 innings and got out of there and without any damage. And that's the concern, though, is, and we'll get to the topic. There's a couple of topics that we were going to bring up here in a second, but is health. Because last year's team, outside of the pitching, like in terms of role players, it seemed, I mean, for the most part, we had Kerry Carpenter, of course, but it was just, it seemed like they didn't have any major injuries that cost them a lot of significant time, and so you gotta, hopefully I think Matt Verling, I'm not concerned because there's nothing indicating as of yet, but if he does go down, it does kind of hinder him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. To a certain extent, you're used to a handful of injuries in spring. It happens to every team. It seems like you just hope, like, the reports you get. The one with Meadows is like, oh, he's got kind of a sore biceps, or it's upper arm soreness or whatever, and they say it's not a big deal, and it probably isn't. But sometimes it starts as something small like that, and then they take a really close look at it and they go, oh no, the bicep's gone or something, and Veerling's shoulder was like Evan Petzold wrote that he had a shoulder injury, and I think McCoskey said it was sore shoulder, and he's day to day, and like I don't know. I don't know until they get back on the field. It's hard to really speculate, but you hope that it's just kind of the normal wear and tear from early in spring training.
I'm wondering if they did an MRI on Meadows. They haven't announced that, but anytime you hear biceps, I just think, unfortunately, my mind goes to torn bicep. And that's probably what I believe usually like a 3-4 month deal. No, I don't mean to be a big worry wart. I mean, he probably doesn't have that, but just as an idle fan who's sitting around in the office, that's where my mind goes.
Well, you hate to hear anybody who can play third base having any sort of injury is what it is. So Matt Veerling, whether it's minor or not, if he misses any time, I mean, it just puts more pressure on Young, I guess. But that's a big deal for me. Like I'm not saying Parker Meadows is more replaceable, but that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Who's more replaceable? But I don't know. We don't have anybody else to play third base.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to it, they play McKinstry at third base, probably something like that. But he's not. Sure. They've got bodies, but it's not ideal solutions. But yeah, I don't know. Just hoping these guys stay healthy. I think. With Flaherty, I was kind of looking to see the velocity because it dipped a little bit as the year went on. He touched 96, I think, today.
96, yep.
Which is good. It was averaging like 93 or whatever, and that's probably where he needs to be. You might ramp it up a little bit at times, but everything else sounded good. I guess it's only that's just his first outing of the spring, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, not too much to worry about there. Just go out there, get your innings in, or throw your pitches, do your work, and get out of there. I don't know if anybody saw. We posted about it in the Discord, but there was Dallas Braden has like a new series on YouTube, and his first guest it was Tarek Skubal, and it's like a 15-16 minute video where they're with Skubal and his buddies out working out, and it's kind of crazy to see what they're doing. It's like he's warming up, and then he does a bullpen, and then they go somewhere else to exercise some more, and then they go somewhere else to exercise again. Like it's like a full day exercise routine. It's crazy, but I guess that's not surprising for professional athletes. It was to me. I was like, wow, that's a lot of work.
No, there is I saw because I know he has got Dallas Braden has got a really gnarly beard these days.
Yeah.
But there is a significant in terms of muscle wise how bigger Skubal got from when he was in the minors, even from his day from college. It was just kind of a gradual buildup. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and he was talking about how he didn't use weighted balls until like 2 years ago, and how his velocity has gone up. And it's also just kind of fun to hear Skubal and his buddies just talking smack to each other and swearing up a storm. Like it's
his mom will
like,
get
it's completely unfiltered, so it's you get like a feeling for what it's like to be around these guys.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've kind of noticed this now. Every time we talk to ball players after the camera, it's like it's like this. They're like this, and all of a sudden, well, and it's great. It's great because then it's like, okay, well, then I can kind of also be myself a little bit too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough because some players are like that, and then you get the contingent that are like the church going choir boy types, and you're like, well, I don't want to swear in front of these guys. I'm gonna be banished to the seventh ring of hell. But other players are just they're ball players, so they let loose, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. Speaking of which, like we if I don't know when the Lockhart interview is going to be going wide, as it were. But if you're a Patreon subscriber, I would say go check that out. It's fun to hear a guy like that talk. You know, he's had a really interesting path to this point in his career, and I don't know, he's got a really good perspective, and he just loves baseball. You know, I asked him what he likes to do when he's not playing baseball. He's like, I just love baseball. So I was like, good.
Oh, that'll be going wide on Monday, by the way.
Perfect.
So we'll be going out Monday. So for everybody ahead of time, want to check out the Patreon. Yeah, it was really, really insightful stuff. And yeah, this is Scary Scooble in his native Arizona. So I'm doing his workout thing, and yeah, it's I love how they're all in black. By the way, it's like kind of it's almost like they're like coded out and everything, and so it is cool to see.
Even
it's
Braden's in black.
Yeah. Like I said, that beard is pretty
Yeah, I know. I mean, he looks like he just came in from like 3 months of fishing off the coast of Cape Cod.
Perfect storm.
I love that.
The white squall. Homeless guy from Hellraiser. But I don't know. Yeah, it's. I just say if you've got some time, it's worth watching. It's interesting. But I don't know. A lot of these baseball players are interesting. So is the Lyle Lockhart interview. That's worth watching. It's interesting. But
speaking of gnarly beards, I've been calling Tyler Owens Charles Manson's grandson on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that and I had to do a double check. I'm like, all right, Uper, what? Like, come on. Like, maybe I thought it was more like Jesus, like
that's the beard and the hair, It's just kind of fun. But the best part is I've actually had a couple of people contact me. Goes, is he really Charles Manson's grandson?
Oh, come on!
Honest to God.
Boy.
So that's been my fun this week. I hit pretty well so far.
I guess he's not the biggest guy, but still, Charles Manson was like 5'4", wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a little tiny dude. He was just able to talk teenage girls and do whatever he wanted. That's all.
Yeah. Well, when they're high on LSD but I had, this is completely whatever. It's spring training. We're having fun here. Right. I had heard he learned to do that by reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Wait, yeah. What?
Was that by?
That's Carnegie.
Carnegie. Yeah. That Manson had read that book and that helped him learn how to like influence people and kind of control them.
Oh wow!
And he was trying to make it as a rock star and it wasn't working. Yeah.
So
that's how it's.
Yeah, because he was friends with one
of the Beach Boys,
Dennis Wilson.
Yeah. And the cool part,
my wife reminded me we do have that book.
In his little cult, Angela Lansbury's daughter was part of his cult.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actress.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was quite the little web there. So I don't know. I don't know if we can make that in Tyler Owens' nickname, but I kind of like it.
Let's see.
Or maybe he's the Murray's Parts guy. I shout out to James Chipman who sent me that.
It's funny. I swear Chip and I have had that discussion about the Murray's Auto thing before because that face used to scare me when I was a kid. It just seemed like a monster, right? Like a big furry monster. Like it's one thing to be like a smiley guy, but that's like he's baring his fangs. I don't know. This is a very visual podcast tonight.
Yeah. No, that's and what's funny is like that. My dad used to go to that there's one by our house that we used to go to all the time, so it was just kind of funny to see that. But shout out to Chipman on that. That was pretty funny there. But no, as far as so go ahead.
There's never been a big league player with a last name Manson, and there's only one in the minor league database, Robert Manson.
Wow. Okay.
All right. There's a couple minor or college players right now. Heath Manson.
Norman Vincent Peale.
Yeah, we need to. Maybe that's the next list. Is the best players who share their last names with serial killers. Let's see.
Bundy.
There's
Dylan Bundy.
Dylan Bundy. There you go.
There's no Gacy, right?
No, I don't see any Gacy.
Nor Dahmer.
Dahmer probably not.
Or J.J. Holmes?
Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes.
Clay Holmes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Holmes.
Grant Holmes.
Grant Holmes.
Yeah.
Herman Mudgett.
We're going off the rails.
Yeah. What else we can do? Spring training. It's like there was the game on TV. They scored no runs.
Yeah.
We got nothing to talk about. It's been fun to have baseball back though. I'll say that.
Oh, no question.
And there's good stories. The beat writers are doing a good job bringing out stories every week. Not every week. Like one of them has something interesting just about every day, right? Like Raj found Evan Woodbury did a nice story about Wilmer Flores.
Yeah.
Cody has done a story about How You Lee. Evan Petzold usually has all sorts of fun tidbits, and McCoskey is telling us stuff. So it's I don't know. It's just nice to have that information out there.
I would never. The one thing I would never understand, like when I got down there last year, I understand how hard it is to generate stories every day. You got to go down there, you go in the locker room, and they have a mindset. These guys are ready to go, and so you have to really be creative. And honestly, it's like right now we're stretching this into 30 minutes of 35 minutes worth of a conversation, but I give it a lot of credit to the beat writers. But as soon as you get down there, right now I was working on the Erie roster projection all day, and I'm sitting there like scratched it. No. Wait. Here's the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
No, screw it. And so I'm just gonna put it out tomorrow because it's just like I'm overthinking it a little bit because I'm like I want to be.
Yeah, it's just a preliminary projection. We can change it a little bit later.
It's impressive the number of stories they crank out daily. I agree with you. I mean, because when you think about it, they're there for 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, right? You can only write about the battle for the backup catcher job so many times. You got to make it interesting. So, it's impressive that they can scour through that clubhouse and find things to write about.
Yeah, and actually things that are not clickbaity, like 5 things that you should know about this backup catcher, like something like that.
I mean, there are certain things like there's certain media availabilities or whatever that they have to do where you get whatever information. I guess the beauty of spring training is that there's so many players there at one time that you can kind of go and find information about any of these guys, but you still have to find it and find the interesting story. And if it's interesting enough, you have to do research and go and get some background and stuff. So it's, I don't know, it's a tough job. I mean, I don't think anybody complains about it, but it's a lot of work, and it's just fun to get the stories. And then when they don't, even when they don't find stuff, we're seeing stuff on TV going, hey, is that guy's swing different? Is his arm angle different? I think like the Tanner Colehep appearance kind of erupted a tiny segment of nerd baseball Twitter because he's just got such unique pitch metrics that everybody's like, what is this? This guy's crazy. And we'll see what happens if anything.
Yeah, we too. By the way, if I end up going down there, for at least a day or two for the spring training breakout game, I like we get questions from Discord all the time. Like yesterday, we had a couple questions on Discord for Lyle Lockhart Jr. So there's always a way to interact with that because I love getting feedback from people because that's awesome. One of those things where you can really it allows perspective on something you didn't think of, like just a different perspective. Are the Tigers using workload monitors? The other teams are using the spring.
I haven't heard anything specific about that. I would be kind of shocked if they weren't. They've been pretty. Was it Dr. Georgia Giblin? Yeah. She's been pretty on the leading edge of kind of sports science and medicine there, and so it wouldn't shock me if they're getting monitored for their sleep and their food intake and all that stuff. I think the Tigers are pretty serious about all that stuff now.
See change from the past.
I do like this question. Oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I say that would be something interesting for the writers to look into.
Well, I like this question here from we too. I like to ask them some of the balance between the friendships they have to be competitive during spring training for a limited amount of spots. It was funny hearing. Speaking of that too, Lyle Lockhart lives with RJ Pettit, and I forgot.
And Brent Herder.
Yeah, Brent Herder.
Oh,
and it was funny hearing him story. Like first time he came out to Detroit, he was like, "Wow, these guys are all tall, like they're like massive dudes." And then he saw, I forgot who else he said he saw, but anyway,
a couple smaller guys. Yeah, I mean, he said those were the first 2 people he saw when he got off the bus. And Herder is what 6'6", 240, and Pettit is like 6'8", 280. Yeah. The 2 biggest guys in the organization. He's like, oh my god. But yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, just hearing, it is interesting hearing the way that players, these are professional athletes and they're highly competitive in the way that they, whereas something I might take as a slight, and maybe they do, but they turn it into motivation. to say this is what I just need to get better, or I need to fix this about myself. There's very little, and there are players who aren't like that, and you know what happens to them? They wash out, they do stupid things and get put on the what do you call it, the restricted list.
Yeah.
And but a lot of these guys are like, they're just the kind of personalities that they love the competition, and it just tries to make them better themselves.
Well, and you would love to think that in the interest of team harmony and all that kind of stuff, our Spencer Torkelson and Colt Keith tight, and how is this situation affecting whatever friendship they may or may not have had in the past, or maybe not at all. Maybe they weren't friends. Those kind of dynamics, we don't see that. That would be interesting to know more about.
I think one of the things, and we too brings it up too, we want your friends to succeed at the same time as dog eat dog. But I think the one thing about baseball that I miss the most doing travel ball and the little that I did do in high school and team sports in general is that camaraderie. It really is like I still think about like there's times where there's stories of like I still share with my friends from high school when I played soccer for 2 years, and there's still stories about us. We had in a fight among ourselves where the goalie ended up kicking the ball right into the back of one of our star players' heads by accident, and it caused a whole ruckus. But we still, every once in a while when we get together, we'll talk about it. But it's just like, or hanging around the team that win going to states, and you only lost them 1-0, and it's so like it's mind-boggling to me that I still remember, the first time I ever scored a layup, or I scored a basketball point in grade school, 1993, the St. Anselm Christmas tournament. I got a pass from a guy by the name, I forgot the guy's last name, but it was Eric, big center, number 21. I was number 4 because Joe Dumars was my favorite player at the time. And I went in left side of the layup. That was my first point. I still remember that in 1993, no less, like 92, 93.
I remember soccer plays from the same era. I remember them like they were yesterday. I have like a crystal clear memory of things like that. Sports can do that. People talk about you getting in the zone and stuff, but Deadly Ninja Beast did bring up, he said the clubhouse culture seems to be pretty good. I think that's really true. Like that was something, what happened last year doesn't happen if there's not complete buy-in from just about everybody. And it seemed like it, like nobody took it. If they did take it as a slight, they didn't let it affect their performance. Everybody seemed to be fine with like, okay, you're pinch hit for me because he gives us a better chance, or pulling me out and the other pitcher is going to get the job done. And I feel like when you build that culture and then it works out, it just like strengthens the whole thing. It's like it's a ball that keeps rolling. Like I trust these guys. They got the job done. I trust them more now. They trust me, and it's you hope that can continue. You never know. Like people. Egos may grow as players do better, but or as they get older and they get more money, whatever. But for right now, I think it's a pretty good clubhouse.
Yeah,
no Trevor Bowers last year.
Yeah, no. And Czechoslovakia now or something. But no, I think about even for example, like when I played travel, I was projected to be the starting catcher. Then I got hit in the head on like the second to last day of the regular season. And it like at the plate, I just got scared. Like I could not hit. I was just a different player altogether. Like I wasn't the same aggressive hitter. And the first tournament the first game we played, I wasn't there mentally. And so the rest of the tournament, I was on the bench the entire time. I was furious. But at the same time, the guy who played my backup did a better job, and he got a couple of hits. We got our asses kicked by far superior teams, but the point is that we wanted he did better, and I was rooting for him. It was in my own fault that I got my own head. I also blame my manager for also leaving his son out there too and getting shelled. That's beside the point.
Daddy ball.
That's how manager. Yeah, that you see that all the
time.
Okay, so we too says he knows the Czech guy who runs the facility.
In the Czech Republic where.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
John Began. Okay. But no, so tomorrow, by the way, it will be Reese Olson's first appearance, and that game will be on Blue Jays Sportsnet. So, and then there's no audio on the Tigers side, I believe, tomorrow. I don't think it's the game's on 1270 tomorrow. So, but we'll find out all the roster stuff in the morning. So by the way, if you are a Patreon subscriber for free, I usually in the morning, first thing I do is as soon as I get the stuff from the Tigers PR department, I will post that on our Patreon or on Twitter. So if you don't follow us on, follow us on Tigers Minor League Report on Twitter, Tigers ML Report. I'll usually go up first thing or put some. Today I forgot to put it up on Facebook, but we do have a Facebook page as well. So that's what we'll usually do. We'll usually put the pictures and the minor leaguers that are coming over for camp, and that usually they usually send it. They're pretty really like send it over like 7:00, 7:30. So. But,
I would imagine just about every bullpen guy's pitched so far, right? Has Brisky pitched?
I don't know if he has. I don't think Tommy Canley's pitched. I'm trying to think.
There could be a million reasons why, and none of them are bad.
I think Foley pitched today. Yeah. Vest pitched today. I don't know if Holton has pitched yet. Has he? I don't know. I'd have to go through and look at the stats, which I can do right now.
I don't think. Wait, no, I don't think Holden has pitched, has he?
I'm checking. All right, let's look at pitching. So we've got games from. No, not all teams. The Tigers. Damn you. Belazovic, Gage, Wilkel, Chase Lee, Kenta Maeda, Matt Manning, Tyler Owens, PJ Poulin, Brendan White, Austin Bergner, John Brebbia, Garrett Burhan, Dietrich Enns, Jack Flaherty, Jason Foley, Sean Gunther, Brendan Hannafy, Brant Herter, Jackson Jobe, Tanner Kolip, Lyle Lockhart, Ty Madden, Ryan Miller, Casey Mize, Kyder Montero, Tim Naughton, Carlos Pena, RJ Pettit, Matt Seelinger, Tarek Skubal, and Will Vest.
Wow.
So no Brisky, no Canley, no others, no Holton.
Interesting.
Thanks, yeah. Mitch is heading down to Lakeland tomorrow to cheer on our boys for a week.
It's awesome, Mitch. Yeah.
Fun. Enjoy.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll talk out there soon. Yeah, Mitch, we're due for a conversation, talk some Tiger prospects here soon. But yeah, Jed, I mean, one of the things that, I mean, Chafin will, I'm glad you're bringing that up. Actually, let's end this podcast with talking about the DMs here. The biggest swing player on the roster.
So to explain that, this is actually, I think Yoop asked this question last year, and it was maybe farther along in spring, where like who's the player on the team that could have the biggest impact, like one way or the other, if they like really reach their ceiling. And I remember last year because I picked Jack Flaherty. So it's just kind of the idea of like who on the team do you think could alter the team's fortunes the most? And I don't know if anybody has anybody in mind that just instantly pops up, and I would say go for it if you do.
First guy, when you posted this question earlier, first guy that popped in mind was Colt Keith. If he has that year 2 surge where he's a much more consistent hitter and some of the power starts to come around, I think that would be such a huge bonus to the lineup. Get that extra power source that they've, been continually lacking for the last few years. And he's the kind of guy who has the prospect pedigree, where he should be able to provide that at some point if things fall the right way. Now he is learning a new position, and that's always interesting. How that factors in, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any?
Yeah. I mean, call me crazy, but when I first saw this, I thought Spencer Torkelson. And my first thoughts were basically guys. I actually thought of Javi Baez too. And I guess what I mean is if these guys were to somehow be what they once were, obviously we're way farther removed from Javi Baez as opposed to like Spencer Torkelson 2 seasons ago. But if either of them were to have those kinds of seasons, it would be something that would be like a bonus. It's something that I'm not saying that I've given up on Spencer Torkelson, but I'm not expecting 30 home runs from Spencer Torkelson this season, right? So if he were to just all of a sudden do that, or Javi all of a sudden could, be a major league average player, I think that would end up changing things quite a bit, because you're getting something from nothing, something from what I'm viewing as basically nothing, or in Baez's case, literally less than nothing. He's hurting you. So those, I think it's Spencer Torkelson.
You go, Raj.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I was trying to be a little different with the answer. And I really think it's a guy like Reese Olson, and I'll say this: here's a big reason why. If you look at the rotation, the depth is there. I'm not disputing that whatsoever. But a guy like Reese, I got two of them. So Reese Olson, position or pitcher wise, and the reason why I say that is because if he has a good year, that sets up the rest of the rotation. I mean, I think what I mean by that is like if he can take it up another level, like he did, and continue to grow his game a little bit as a strikeout pitcher, that will really help the pitching chaos, if you will. If he can go 6 or 7 innings per start, and sometimes just be a little bit above average, and give the bullpen a little bit of a rest. And I think the reason why, you know what you expect from Terry Skubal, what you're expecting from Flaherty, Olsen to a certain extent, but if he can take up another level, I think that really will help him in a division too. Like the Royals are really good. I think the Royals are really good, and they're going to be competitive. Cleveland's still a solid team. Minnesota's got some more pitching. Minnesota's pitching depth is deceptively really good. I think they're going to have a really good staff this year. And I think Reese Olson is a guy who I think if he has a really good year, that will make a big difference come postseason, because then you have 3 guys that you can really. It's not just like Derek Skubal and the gang. It's you got your 3 horses, and I also Casey Mize comes to mind too as well, because I think Casey Mize has something to prove. He has a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to really prove everybody wrong. And I think that will make it a better, like whatever his role is. I think he might have a legitimate shot, but between him and Kyler Montero for that spot in the rotation. Position player wise, Winfield Perez. And I say this because we saw him in center field. We saw him in right field. And that is something where I look at it as if they're not healthy, if Verling's not healthy and Meadows is not healthy, that puts a lot more emphasis on Perez. He's a switch hitter, doesn't hit well on his natural side, which is something he's still working on. And so I think that if he is a guy who can go out there and, I don't, cracks me up. Matt Manning is a swing man, come back with a vengeance. Well, if he can stop walking people, that'd be, ideal. But I think Winfield, I don't know about anybody else in the chat, but the reason why I like Winfield to be like, he's an X factor is if he can continue to evolve his game and hit evenly on both sides, that's going to also really help out the Tigers' health overall.
I love Winfield Perez. He's one of my favorite Tigers. I just like those end of the bench guys but the thing is those guys used to be a lot worse. We've evolved from Victor Reyes to Winfield Perez, which is a wonderful, wonderful direction to move in.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we were doing some discussions like, so what happens if there is a long-term injury to the outfield or 2? And I think you could see everyday center fielder Winfield Perez. And I don't think you'd feel terrible about it, even if he still looks a little like scary when he's running up to grab a fly ball. You're like, oh boy, and then he always catches it. So yeah, I mean, I actually feel like there are a handful of kind of swing players on the team. You guys mentioned some great ones. When I originally was thinking this, I thought Kenta Maeda could be. He's a guy that was basically a nothing last year. But if I was going to pick, and I've talked about this before, I think Parker Meadows is huge swing player on the team. You look last year, he finished with 2.1 WAR in 82 games. And really, if we're being honest, that's in like 50 games, because when he gets sent down the minors, he was a negative WAR player and came back up and was just so good down the stretch. And I don't know if he can ever replicate that, if he's ever going to be that good again. But if he is, that's a 4+ WAR player, which is huge. And then on the other side of that is I do think there's room for a big breakout player on the rotation. I love the pick of Olsen, but I'm thinking Jackson Jobe, because just the ceiling is so high. And normally, and we've talked before, like we want to caution people, like it's going to take him time, but what if he just does kind of figure it out pretty quickly? And then you're talking like his stuff is as good as anybody's. So if he comes out and he'll be on like a kind of a innings limit, but if he's your 5th starter, just in terms of like, he's going every, he's the fifth starter, gives you, 125 innings or whatever, but is like a 3-WAR pitcher, which is possible with his stuff. That's a huge upgrade over last year. We know like the pitching chaos was so good. It worked out great. But if you look at the starters last year, I think that the number of starts I'm looking right now, last year, the fifth most starts on the team was, oh no, I'm not looking. I think it was Maeda, followed by Kaider Montero, and they both combined for like negative 0.01 WAR. That's like a 3-win swing if you can pull it off. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it, and I think he probably will be, have some ups and downs. It'll be a struggle, but the talent is there for him to be a huge X factor for this team.
Oh, you're potentially adding a rookie of the year candidate to your rotation. I mean, that's got to help anybody. There's only so many guys who have that legit chance. It doesn't mean he will, but
yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Versus what they got out of Maeda and so on, the difference is massive, possibly.
And I could say on the flip side, I don't know if we talked about it here, but like if Job doesn't make the opening day rotation, there might not be any, as much as you hate the idea of wasting him in AAA. They might not be inclined to call him back up until the end of June because of service time stuff. If you really like, if he just doesn't win the job and you got other options and you're not going to put him in the bullpen, so you want him starting every fifth day, you put him in Toledo, and then he's down there. You're like, well, if he's down there and he's not going to win Rookie of the Year, then we might as well, wait to the Super 2 deadline and get another year out of him. It's a bummer. I don't like thinking about that. I'd like for him to make the rotation, but yeah, that could be, things could go in the opposite direction pretty easily.
Yeah, that's something, Chris, even if you look at that rotation right now in Toledo, I still think that's not going to be all the arms that we see in camp right now. I think there's still going to be a big cut where they have to make a decision on somebody. And so if Job's headlining a showcase of arms with, like, for example, maybe Brant Herter, Madden, or Montero, I don't know. I think Montero's going to make the team. I don't know. I feel like Montero has got enough there. I know Hinch likes him a lot, and they mentioned that in the broadcast today too. But it's just I don't know, man. Like, it's just you have to make. I think they want to have Job on this rotation. I think they do. It's just, but then it also, glad that Jed brought that up at perfect timing. How far away is Gibson Long? He hasn't been throwing yet at all. So you're probably looking at probably mid-April, early May. I'm assuming, like, that's what I'm thinking, because if he's not throwing now,
yeah.
He still has to. I can almost bet that he'll probably start in Lakeland, doing like rehab starts in April or May, and then work his way up. That would probably be the best way to go about it. And then from there, it's also like Wilmer Flores, for example, when Evan Woodbury reported this, is that he hasn't thrown, and he's not expected to throw till mid-March. So that's another arm that I don't know if the Tigers are going to use him in the bullpen or as a starter, but that also factors into what's going to happen with Job, at least a little bit, to me, at least.
Yeah, but I think, and Gibson Long, I think, had his surgery in April last year, maybe even May.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
And then I think he had a hip procedure too, didn't he?
Did he have a hip procedure?
I thought he did.
Yeah.
So
hip labrum or something.
Yeah, and I don't think he had a full Tommy John. I thought it was one with the internal bracing or whatever, which is usually a little.
Oh quicker. Yeah, that's what we talked about that too last year. Go ahead.
So in July he went through the hip. He got a hip.
So
surgery.
I would think he's probably good from the hip. Hopefully, I don't know how long it takes to get better from something like that, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I wonder if the hip thing was bothering him for a long time, right? And it's not the sort of thing, like, the only way to fix it is with surgery, and it's not the sort of thing you're going to end the season for. But if you have Tommy John anyway, you might as well do it. I think, Casey Mize kind of did that with his back, right? But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see Gibson Long probably until July.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, I don't know.
So going back to Job and your point there about the Super 2, over the years, I've always, people whine about the service time thing for star players, and I get it. But I've always saw the management's point of view on this, of getting that extra year, and And I know, and this was before they put in the draft pick stuff with the rookie of the year thing to try to incentivize teams out of that. But my dividing line was this: if the guy is good enough, if you're going to wait until Super 2, now you are being cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to win games at the end of the day here. So you could have the guy up in mid-April, and the service time thing is kicked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it generally takes about 10 or 12 days. They miss 2 starts, and then you can get him into the rotation if you want to do it that and gain that extra year. Waiting for Super 2 might save you $1 million down the road, but
yeah.
Now you're talking about, potentially 10 starts of the guy or more, and I think you're kind of cheaping out on your squad then.
Yeah. So I think Job got 2 weeks of service time last year. I don't know. I don't think playoff times counts, but so it might have to be a little bit longer. But yeah, I think a Major League Baseball season is technically considered 187 days. Mm-hmm. And to get a full year of service time, you have to be on the active roster, I think, for 172. So it's like 15 days in the minors, 16 days, I guess, would keep you from a full year of service time. And then the Super 2 thing is usually, like 120, 130 days. So yeah, it's more like you said, 2 months or so. I don't know, just the way they're talking about, and just the way that, just as talented as Job is, it does feel back in the day like when Leland used to talk about just give me the best players. Yeah. Like it feels like, there's going to be some bumps for Job, but let him figure it out at the big league level, because that's where he needs to figure it out anyway. We're just wasting time. But the only thing is that they've just got so many options, right? Like, it's like, could you say a couple of these other guys, say Montero goes out and just shoves all spring, and it's like, well, sorry, Kiter, like, we really wanted to put Job in here, and even though he's got an 8 ERA this spring, and you've got a 0 ERA, it's, I don't know. I think they're counting on him to kind of perform, and I think he will.
If we're looking at how many innings Joe could pitch, I think 120 max. Is that fair to say?
I think, yeah. I think it would be like 125, 130. If you count, so last year, and they keep track of all this in extreme detail.
Oh yeah.
So last year in 2024, 91 and 2/3 innings.
So it's a gradual, that's why I was thinking 120, Chris, because like 20. Usually 20 or 30 innings. Yeah. The next year, usually. So you had 91 and 2/3 plus 4 in the big league, so 95 plus a couple more in the playoffs. 96 innings, so another 25, 30. Yeah, I think they'll be judicious, and they'll have him skip starts and stuff like that. But yeah, 125, I think 130 innings is possible. They're not going to, give him 160 innings or anything like that, but he's going to pitch a reasonable number of innings. I think that 125 might end up. Let's see, last year, how many people topped 125 innings on the Tigers? 1. Derek Skubal. Maeda and Olsen both 112. Flaherty 106. Mize 102. So, actually, technically, if you Montero between Toledo and Detroit last year, he pitched over 100. He was 100 and let me do my math here real quick.
156 innings.
Yeah, 150. Yeah, 100. Yeah. What do I think of 146 innings? 5 plus 9 is 14, right? 6. 146 innings. Did you say 156 innings or?
I did say. Yeah, I think it is 146. You're right. I'm looking 48 plus 98.
Yeah.
146 innings. Yeah. So, that's a lot. That's probably the second most in the entire organization.
Yeah. So Montero, in the year before, he pitched 127.
Yep.
So Montero, actually, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, that's just giving realization. He is a workhorse starter. If by definition, in these modern times, he's in that in there. And Tyler Holden, by the way, did pitch 60. Yeah, Jed DK, I believe you're correct about that. Dan brings up an interesting point. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I bet you if we looked, and maybe we should do this, just look at the entire organization, the innings pitched over the last 3 seasons, it wouldn't shock me if Montero's number 1 and Ty Madden is number 2. Because Skubal was hurt, and Olsen has been kind of hurt, every year. So I don't know, it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, let's look at Ty Madden last year. He pitched. Oh, so So Ty Madden between Toledo and the Tigers last year. Let's just put that put out there.
23 in the big leagues, 96 in the minors.
17, 23, between Erie and Toledo last year, he pitched. You said 30, or I'm 40 innings plus 70, or no, I'm sorry, pitched 23 innings in the major league, 79 in Toledo,
and 17.2. So that is
120.
96 plus 23, 119.
Mm-hmm. And 118 the year before, and 122 the year before that. So, he's been a workhorse too. That's one of the confounding things about Ty Madden is like he's got all the pitches. He makes every start. He just might not be a starter.
So that's what I'm saying. I think he might end up going back to Toledo though, just based off being a starter.
Yeah, no, I'd be shocked if he's not in Toledo. Honestly, like I don't know where they fit him.
Wow, Deadly Ninja Bees here. Holden has 179 innings in the last 2 years. Holy smokes!
Yeah, I mean, he pitches every other day. It seems like.
Yeah,
it reminds me of the old days of rest in peace, Mike Marshall.
Mike Marshall.
Yeah, Mike Marshall, and everyday Eddie Rosario, more Eddie Guerrero.
Cardado. Yeah, everyday Eddie.
Not the wrestler, not to be confused with the former WCW, also wrestling peace champion, or I'm sorry, WWE champion. He wasn't. I don't think he ever won the title in WCW. By the way, random factoid. I do know a little bit about wrestling, but I just don't. It's not that I don't tell people about it. It's just it never comes up in conversation on a baseball podcast. Like we don't have to talk about the Hart Foundation or how I think Rick Martel is one of the great WWC or WWF Intercontinental champions, or the.
I was a big Ricky Steamboat guy.
Same here. I was a big Ricky Steamboat stan. I love Ricky Dragon Steamboat. Him and Macho Man, WrestleMania 3, one of the.
Isn't that considered the greatest wrestling match of all time?
Yeah, the belt to the throat, like that was classic.
Yeah. But all people always talk about Hulk Hogan picking up Andre the Giant in like a 30-second match.
No,
but whatever.
Yeah.
I was just looking. I was looking at the Tigers innings leaders over the last 3 seasons. So Scooble's number 1 at 390. Can you guys guess the next 3 or 4 names?
As far as major league pitchers go?
Yeah, major league innings.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to. Oh God, I'm gonna have to guess. This is gonna be a stretch, isn't it? I would go with Mize at 100, just over 100.
Mize is 112. He is 14th.
Oh, is really?
Yeah.
So there's a dozen guys and more than that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
last 3 seasons, so 22, 23, 24.
Okay. So I have to go back. Yeah, I can't remember. So wait. So Jed guessed Matt Manning.
Manning is 10th with 168.2.
Oof. Okay.
This is fun.
This is. There's no Jordan Zimmerman reference, is there?
No. No, he's been gone for.
Is Reese Olson up there?
Reese Olson's number 3 with 216.
I would go with what about Erod?
Erod's number 2 with 243.2.
Nice.
Okay, so Olson, so Richard and Mike guessed Reese Olson. Yeah, and I got Erod there. So yeah, Erod. So we're missing number 4 then.
Mm-hmm. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever.
Okay. What about Joey Wentz?
Joey Wentz is number 4. Joey Wentz, 193.2 innings with a 5.81 ERA.
Oh, Deadly Ninja Bees took my next guess. Tyler Alexander.
Tyler Alexander's 12, 145 innings.
Really? That's it? Wow, I thought he pitched more than that.
I didn't think he was still around that long.
Is there any relievers on that list?
It's mostly relievers now.
How about Jose Cisneros?
Cisneros not on. Oh, he's 20th with 84.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Holton's on there then, right?
Holton's 8th, 179.2. Foley's 5th, 189.
Oh.
So you guys have got the top 5. Brisky is 6th, 184. Vest is 7th, 181. Faedo, 9th, 175.
I was gonna guess Faedo.
I was not, honestly. I have no idea. I would have gonna go with Richard's guess, which is Alex Lang.
Lang is 11th, 148.
Okay. Oh.
So
Ooh.
anyway, good fun. Joey Wentz, innings eater.
Hey,
Yes,
growth. We're seeing growth. That is measurable growth in the organization right there.
Now, let me check.
Yep.
You know, I was gonna say, if we're looking, you know, I would love to see the average between 2019 and 2022. It would just be, yeah. You know what's weird is you think about, Jed said JV was pumping out 240 a year. I still think about Mickey Lolich's career, or Mickey Lolich's season in 1972. I think it was 72. No, I'm sorry, 71. He threw 376 innings. 300 and I mean, this is okay. I know the 70s are just a completely different era. I understand that, but it was Billy Martin ran out of 3-man rotation, 3 or 4-man rotation. That was it. He overused. He waxed out his bullpen. There was I was reading a book on those early 70s Tigers, and I can't remember. Maybe it was a Saber article. Where it was just they were talking about like the innings usage for that, and Lillard go out and like literally he was second to Cy Young to Vida Blue. Vida Blue won the Cy Young in 71.
Yeah. 71, 376 innings.
Yep. He allowed 336 hits and struck out, but he struck out 308, which led the league, and he still got hosed because it wasn't Vida. Yeah. Anyway,
You know who thinks that's soft?
Who?
Pud Galvin.
Pud
Galvin in 1883 pitched 656 innings, and then next year he pitched 636.
Jeez.
He had 20.5 WAR in 1884.
Yeah. You know, Mickey Lolich Mickey Lolich would probably make the modern day Hall of Fame. Based off the old standards, he falls short. That's the only problem. Is like he has 217, like in terms of like strikeouts. He doesn't have 3,000 strikeouts. He doesn't have the 300 wins. So that's where he kind of like he falls in the really good category, unfortunately, Richard. I mean, if he was in a really good Hall of Fame, yeah, he'd be in the really good Hall of Fame. But I mean, it's such a stingy thing that in terms of WAR, I mean, he had a 48 WAR career or overall career WAR. That 71 season, by the way, he had a WAR of 8.5.
You know, and the hard thing too in those days where you didn't get as many opportunities for postseason bonus points for your Hall of Fame candidacy. You know, I mean, he had the historic and heroic 68 World Series, and that's it. Not, I mean, that was a massive thing that he did, but still.
Yeah,
Jed UK has a good one here. They'll be voting for guys with 1,500 Ks in 20 years.
No, they already are. They're relievers, but Lolich's numbers are fairly comparable to Jack Morris. Like it's a different era, but in his ERA is like half a run lower. But because it's a different era, I think Lolich is his ERA plus or whatever is about the same. He's got more strikeouts. I don't think he has as many wins, but you know, sometimes it's just the narrative, right? Jack Morris got in because of the narrative.
Winningest pitcher of the 80s.
Winningest pitcher of the 80s.
Yeah. He also had more than 12 wild pitches 7 times.
Yeah, that's a fun.
That was just something our trivia question the other day. But anyway, one last here. This is more of a Raj question, I guess. But I was just looking, so I wanted to see the minor leaguers, the innings leaders over the last 3 seasons in the minors. And if you care to take a guess.
Yes, I'll take a guess. Montero being one of them, right?
Montero is 6th, 279.1. Now that's
all 3 seasons.
That's not counting the big leagues. So he added more in the big leagues, but
okay. All right. Sorry, we too with the McLean also led the league in gambling debts.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Dislocated toes by mobsters.
Yeah. Allegedly. Reese Olson.
Reese Olson I don't see him on here. Oh, yeah, 161 innings, 24th, behind Michael Beeline.
Michael Beeline. Wow.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm gonna go with so Ty Madden's up there, right?
Ty Madden's number 1, 337.1.
All right. So Ty Madden for sure. Lyle Lockhart has to be up there. Oh,
he's 12th.
12th, okay.
199.2.
199.2. Okay. And you said last 3 seasons?
So it's 22 to 24, yep.
Ooh, okay. There's got to be a guy at West Michigan that pitched a bunch too. I'm trying to think of. My name escapes me right now. Jackson. No, not Jackson. Job.
Job's 9th.
Job's 9th. Okay.
Despite his injuries, he's got 233 innings in the minors over the last 3 seasons.
Brant Hurler is up there, right?
Herder's 4th, 296.
Okay. So I still have to get 2 and 3. The 2 and 3 is what most important. That's gonna stump me.
This is I know we're doing podcast for 2 here, but
no, it's okay. No, anybody else out there has a guess. Yeah, podcast for 2. That's okay. But man, it's gonna be something really easy, isn't it?
No, I mean, it's the minors.
Minors. Okay, so 2020. So we too. It's from 2022 to now.
Yeah, the last 3 seasons: 2022, 2023, 2024 in the minor list. So
in the minors. Okay.
Yeah.
Manning.
No, I don't see Manning here anywhere.
Okay. I'm not trying to like lose my screen or anything. So that's why I'm looking down.
No, what is it? Billy Madison where he just starts saying letters slowly until
yeah, like
Hispanic guy.
No,
low 90s fastball.
I was going to say Carlos Pena.
Carlos Pena's number 2, 327.
You triggered. Actually, you did trigger that that answer. And then I would also say, I'm trying to think if it would be
Luis Marte or something.
No. What about Garrett Burhan?
Burhan's number 3, 308.
Yes, I knew it. All right,
very good.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right.
Others in the top 10 are Austin Bergner, Will Kelly,
yeah, he's been there.
Carlos Marcano, and Wilmer Flores is 10th.
Did you say Carlos Marcano's number 5?
Marcano's 8th.
Okay.
254 innings. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but the knuckleballer, by the way, Jed, I think we'll probably see him in the next week or 2. I actually don't think they'll see him till probably close to, and we were theorizing this yesterday with Brandon. I think West Michigan, like Max Clark, he's going to be part of that West Michigan crew, so we'll probably see him in the next week or 2. That's what I think he's projected to start. So.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really seen anybody who is 100% going to be in high A or low A. Like they're everybody that's played so far in spring could probably be in double A this year or higher. Patrick Lee is getting Seth Stevenson could be in double A. Roberto Campos could be double A. Lorenzo probably will be. All these guys will probably be at that level or higher or cut, unfortunately. But yeah, I do think we'll see some of the lower level guys later. We'll definitely see them in the spring breakout game. Maybe we should do another spring breakout draft, although some people complained about that.
What? Wait. Why did they complain about that?
I don't know. They weren't expecting us to just sit here and draft players for no reason, but I thought it was fun.
No, you know what? I think if we have, what we could do? I actually have an idea for this, for the spring training draft, for the players draft. We'll have the listeners who want to chime in and participate. They can come up with their own team. We can come up with our own team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that the benefit last year was like, hey, the Tigers finally have a farm system that's good enough to go too deep at every position, and have viable clubs, and it's still pretty dang good. They graduated so many guys, it might be a little bit harder to do that, but
I'm formulating an idea now, man. So listeners who are watching this right now or listening on the podcast at home, if you are wanting to participate in this 20-man, we too want to know 28-man roster only.
No, I mean we just were.
Was it starting not? Wait. Just starting not.
I forget exactly. I think we each had three starters, 2 relievers. Like I'd have to go back and figure it out. But
if we provide the structure, would you participate? In other words, that would be yeah.
And it was. We had some. I think we had some rules that they couldn't have been to the big leagues. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But I figured we could. What we could do is like just essentially if they're basically they haven't been in the major leagues. There we go.
Yeah,
we'll just put it. That's a big rule right there.
But the one thing I did want to mention, and I mentioned this at the end of last night's show, is the Tigers spring training schedule is a little bit interesting in that their final 2 spring training games are at Oracle Park in San Francisco before they have a day off, and then they play the Dodgers. But they also have a game against the Phillies in Florida the night before or the day before they're supposed to be in San Francisco. So that game, I think, is going to be absolutely chock full of guys in A ball and low A, high A. Like, so that's the one you want to target. And I think it's March 20th. I have to look.
Yeah. We too will. Like I said, we'll do more of a formal announcement on the draft challenge. We'll get that all straightened out once.
I will go find my my Google sheet to see. It might be kind of fun to go through and see who we drafted last year. Because I remember I took Briseño super early as a catcher because I didn't think there was another catcher to
that's
take.
right. Yeah. I think it was like he wasn't your first pick.
Or no, I took him at first base, right? Because there were no first basemen in the system.
Yeah. It's
exciting for everybody. Once again, podcast for two.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, they'll look forward to it. We'll, like I said, we'll provide some structure. We'll get that out there. But anyway, I was trying to think of anything. Oh, I think that's
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
It's somehow a miracle that we managed to go over an hour talking about absolutely nothing today.
Yeah, no, but that's
the only thing that maybe you guys talked about it last night, but I thought Andrew Chafin was a good signing.
Yes,
no risk. If they go to pitching chaos at some point, they're going to need as many bodies as they can, and he's shown he can do stuff, And if nothing else, could be tradable again.
Yeah.
No, I think. I think there's a decent chance that signing him is kind of relegating Brant Herter back to Toledo, because I think Chafin's going to make the team, and that leaves only basically one spot in the bullpen, and I feel like that's going to go to one of Casey Mize or Kenta Maeda, maybe, particularly once or Matt Manning, and then Cobb is going to come back eventually. So, I think. Chafin takes that job away from Herter a little bit, but it's good because Chafin is a swing and miss guy. He's had some issues. He walks a few guys, but he gets lots of swings and misses, and that's what the Tigers needed. So I agree. I think that's another bargain,
especially on a minor league deal. Made all the sense in the world.
Yep.
Jed UK. We're human trafficking Chafin for lottery ticket. I was miffed though. Brandon brought up a good point, and I'll end the podcast with this: that all these teams passed on him. That I didn't understand. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there. There is the more I looked at some of the rosters, there are a lot of teams that are they're carrying 2 or 3 guy lefties in the roster. But I was still miffed that and he has every right to be pissed, Jed. He didn't get a deal at all. You mean to tell me a guy like that, a lefty that can go out and get strikeouts, can't? The hell's that all about? I don't know. It's I feel like there's some. I don't want to say. I know I joked around yesterday. It's a collusion, Uper, and I know we've mentioned collusion on this podcast many times, and it was something that happened in the 80s where, as you know, that or you may not know that major league teams got together and made sure that players they were going to their a gentleman's agreement, if you will, among the owners that they wouldn't sign certain players. Like Kirk Gibson, for example, was a free agent. Jack Morris was, and then no one went after him, mysteriously enough. And they came back. And so, as far as like a right-handed back goes, like the JD Martinez, bada boom, bada bing, I don't know. There has to be some sort of handed bat situation. So we'll see how that happens there. Plenty of time. It is now just tomorrow is the last day of February, which is thank God, because this is the last 2 months have been brutal in terms of winter, and I'm just glad. So thank you so much for listening this evening. Thank you so much for our serial killer Tiger talk. Went all over the place tonight, and appreciate everybody chiming in. And like I said, when we get a structure, we'll put it out there for the draft show. Thank you again to Dwight, who sent in a GoFundMe donation in again, it was a big donation. Thank you again. And there's the GoFundMe will be in the description. If you like donating, again, there's our Patreon. We have the Lyle Lockhart Jr. interview. I'm trying to get one more interview scheduled. I want to get, I'll tell you about this off air, Chris, the gentleman. But other than that, have a great night, everybody. Stay classy, and we'll talk to you soon.